Namo Buddhaya. Happy Sunday evening. Welcome to the Buddha Dharma TV. I am Sherry Chandra from Jakarta, Indonesia. Yesterday, we presented to you Mahayana Buddhist chanting conducted by Most Venerable Setauquo of Taiwan. Today, we present you something special. A group of bhikkhunis from the Taiwan Buddhist Temple in Bodh Gaya were chanting a Mahayana chanting at the event of offering of a Sanghika Dana to 2,000 monks at Bodh Gaya. This Mahayana chanting was conducted by Venerable Tanti Tan Hoi, abbess of the Taiwanese temple in Bodh Gaya, India. Here is again a piece of Buddhist music. But before that, let me ask you something. If you have composed Buddhist hymns, please forward them to us. We'd like to share them with our viewers. Only if they are approved by our music experts, we can play them for you. Now, here is Wayfarer.
Row here, ripple this water, tinged with the moonlit tide. Mountain as high Sumeru, gaze on with wondering pride, in the starry orbits, stopped for a while in pace. Gods in their shaken heavens, down to the earth they raised. Birds in their flaming beasts in their vests of gold, fish on the water surface make themselves there below, there below. Gray have lost their darkness, silver moon shines instead. Lotuses open in glory, honoring Gautama great. His sundered life speaks secret, lies big dawn. He knows the way and watchword, flower of mankind is born, flower is born.
Well, no time for Dharma practice was the topic of the sermon by Bante Rahula of Mexico. It was interesting indeed. Let's go for the second part of the talk. Here is Bante Rahula from Mexico to deliver the second part of his sermon. No time for Dharma practice.
Now we go real to the tricks and tips, quick tips that we'll pass. Write them down. There are many, I know, because sometimes I made this talk before and then they say, oh, one thing was a lot of information. Yes, I know. It will be maybe a few, so write them down and later you can come to the video and you tell me at the end which one resonated with you, and we will also have a space for Q&A. So let's see, the time is going good. We will have also Q&A. So the first one, we know, and the Buddha mentioned that actually, in order to know where our mind is, you remember the spectrum. If I don't know where the mind is, if it is on the bottom end, or if it is on the middle, or if it is on the top, how can I do something? If I don't know where the mind is, there is no hope. Sometimes, you tell me yes or no, sometimes, or mostly more in the past, I was getting angry, and I didn't realize that I was getting angry. Somebody come and tell me, are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. Somebody do like this. Are you fine? Yes. Something like this, and already anger already there, but the mind still saying, yes, I am okay, don't you see? Isn't it? So it is already, anger win already. Why does this happen? Because lack of awareness, lack of mindfulness. Sati is weak. So if we don't know what our mind is doing, my dear family, we are lost. And that's why the world is as it is. And that's why we have said the most horrible things we have ever said in our life were because we were unmindful or angry. And even not knowing that we were angry. And sometimes the same happens with sadness. We are sad and we don't recognize. Or we are nervous and we don't recognize. And like fire, if we don't check the fire when it is small, when it is easy to turn that off, if we neglect the small fire, the whole house can burn. So then we have psychological problems, not for us, but we can see it in society. A lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. Isn't it? So we need to be mindful from the moment we wake up, ideally, until we go to sleep. As long as the mind is on, we need to be mindful because the mind is changing very quickly. Sometimes we feel happy and immediately we feel sad, isn't it? How many emotions did you experience today? Tell me. How many thoughts did you experience today? Wow, millions of thoughts. Very fast is the mind. So we need to be careful about it. How to do it in a relaxed way, a way that is consistent? Well, let's start using, not just on the retreat. Do you know how to brush your teeth? Yes. Do you need to be thinking, okay, right, up and down, don't go forward like this. Do you need to think about that? Not at all. We do it automatically. So if the mind doesn't require to be thinking about it, go to mindfulness and just be mindful of the smell of the toothpaste, the sensation, the force we are using, and the way we are standing. So the mind is not lost. Sometimes I say myself, oh, later I have to go this and I have to send this email and she told me that, but next time I told her that I would say to her this and this and that. And then you finish and, oh, did I finish? Did I brush the teeth already? I don't know, isn't it? Because we were totally lost. Somebody has felt that thing before? Yeah, don't be shy, don't be shy. Yeah. Okay, we all have experienced that, so I know how to brush the teeth. Better come back to bring your mind back. No, don't go to the future. No, don't go to the past. Stay here. Just movement, smell, and clarity of mind. Which one sounds more elegant? Number 1 or number 2? Number 2, la, of course. Elegant. I know the body. I know the mind. I am present. I am at peace. Wonderful brushing your teeth. Sometimes we even hurt our gums because we do too strong. I went to the dentist. I say, doctor, I have this thing very high. Of course, you are brushing like this, isn't it? Yes. So sometimes we can even hurt ourselves. Okay, so we do as we are cleaning our teeth. Now the same happens for showering. Okay, I will give you the next tip. Do you want to purify your mind?
Yes.
Do you want to purify your mind?
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to get enlightened?
Yes.
Yes, me too. Okay, I will give you the next instruction. If you want to purify your mind and get enlightened, just follow this instruction and you will. From now on, don't take shower anymore. Does that sound reasonable? Sound reasonable? Yes, believe me. From now on, don't take shower. Don't take shower anymore. And you will purify your mind and you will get enlightened. Do you believe me? No, okay. Don't take shower anymore, I will say, but okay. From now on, what I mean is, you will not take a shower. From now on, you will meditate while showering. Wow. That sounds good. No, okay, let's make an experiment. Quick experiment. I'm going somewhere and you ask me, hey, where are you going? No, not here. Are you going one more time? I go, you ask me, not here. I'm going to take a shower. Number 1. You ask me second. I'm going to meditate in the shower. Which one sounds more elegant? Number two, isn't it? So yes, when I say from now on don't take shower, meditate while you're showering. You don't need to think about soap. You don't need to think about opening. Just stay present. Keep the mind in the body. Keep the mind peaceful. Wow, very elegant. And I will tell the same. If you want to get enlightened, from now on, don't eat anymore. Don't take food anymore. From now on, you won't eat. You will meditate while eating. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sounds reasonable? Sounds possible? So look, the only thing is just put a tag on it. I'm not taking a shower. Make the resolution. The mind is very powerful, man. Whatever resolution we make, the mind follows it. So before you get into the shower, you start thinking, I will not let the mind loose. I will be present, I am present, and all the shower I will stay. Believe me, my dear family, wisdom will follow. Wisdom will follow. Okay, so this is the next tip I wanted to do. Put the label, I will be meditating for everything. Okay, simple. Before you go out, I will meditate while walking, and you will see more tricks. Now, who here has car or drives? Raise your hand, raise your hand. I think many of us, isn't it? I was also driving when I was a layperson. So I will tell you the tips that I was using when I was driving, because sometimes we drive a lot, né? We need to commute to our work, or even if you don't drive, when we take the taxi or the bus, etc. So when I was driving, the thing that helped me the most was two objects. I was focusing on the sensation of the hands in the steering wheel. Anyway, you cannot move your hands from the steering wheel. I already have them there. So as I was going, I was feeling the steering wheel. And also another object that you can use is your weight in the cushion of the seat. Can you feel your weight in the cushion now? Is it easy to, do we need much attention to do that? No, very easy. Just keep the mind there. The mind is anchored. So you will use the driving wheel and the cushion, and let's make an experiment. Okay, now we will start driving in London. I think it's London. We'll start driving, and you will be mindful of your body. Get the steering wheel. Everybody get your steering wheel. Feel your weight, your breath also, and here we go. Ding. We are going there. We can see the cars. Are you mindful of your weight? Oh, some for very few only. Are you mindful of your breath? Yes. Can you see the road? Of course, possible. Can you feel your hands? Yes. Can you see the road? No need to do much. So you have, the attention is divided. You're still working. You see these people, bye-bye, and to our neighbors or whatever. We can continue going. It's definitely possible, isn't it? So we feel the weight. We need to stop. Green light. Okay, let's go, etc., etc. The point is made. So use your hands and the weight of your body and the breath. So now you will not drive. You will meditate in the car. Wow, more elegant. I tell you, tonight you will go out more elegant than the way you came in. I can assure you that. Elegance, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Okay, next one. If you need to wait for whatever reason, the lift, in the bank, or in the post office, or whatever, sometimes we need to wait. Why to let the mind run wild? Just come back. No, dear. No. Don't go to the future. Come. No. Don't go to the past. Come back. Then you use the breath. We anchor with the breath. We anchor with the body. No suffering. And when no suffering, joy arises. Piti sukha. No. And when joy arises, peace follows. And when peace follows, love comes after. Wow. My dear family, we are talking about very beautiful stuff. If we are present, the mind calms down. If the mind is calm, we are free from suffering. Joy arises. From joy comes peace and concentration. And from peace follows all the time love. Have you noticed that there is no boundary between peace? There is no frontier between peace and love? Really? When we are peaceful, suddenly, we just feel love for ourselves and for others. Very beautiful. Easy to do even when we are standing in the bank. I heard one teacher saying, one time he told us, do you want to know who is the best meditator of all the world? Oh, we are like, yes, Bante, please tell me. And then he said, the best meditator in the world is the one that is meditating and nobody knows this. Very elegant. I want to be that one. I wish for you to be that one. You will be your mind straight, stable, and beautiful, and people don't need to know around. You don't need to be, No need. You are just standing on the bank. You're just standing waiting for the lift, and your mind is booming with beauty from the inside. Isn't that elegant? That is pro. We are talking about professional. So really pro. So any moment, you know, come back. Let go of the past, the Buddha says. Let go of the future. Let go of the present. With a mind that is totally free, cross to the other shore beyond suffering. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. My hero. Very nice. Very wise. Okay, next one. Instead of having a door, now you won't have a door. Your door is like, of course, that's just a door, ne? No. Now we will upgrade our doors. Now our doors will be our Kalyanamitas. Now the door, every time you get the knob of your door, or either this or this one, whichever you have, the door will tell you, be mindful. So when you open the door, you will take that moment to come back to yourself. Even if you are going to the toilet or to the kitchen, wherever you're going, stop, or even just in the opening, the door will tell you, be mindful. So now we will upgrade the door. So you see, in all these moments, how many doors do you open every day? Well, except for the doors that Brother Alan used to sell, these doors you just arrive and they open by themselves. So no need to open those. But anyway, if the door is opening, you just arrive, sadhu, 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 and then you go. Okay, so now the doors will be your Kalyanamitas from now. Not just the door, we will upgrade the objects in our daily life. Okay, so Kalyanamita door, another tip. And here we go. Maybe you might think, wow, Bhante Rahula, very progressive, very modern, isn't it? You may say, wow, this monk is very modern. No, I'm not modern at all. The Buddha spoke about all these things. Do you know? I'm sure you know this sutta. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha said, the practitioner is alert and awake when he's walking, when he's standing, when he's sitting and lying down, isn't it? He said, when he's quiet, when he's talking, when he's looking ahead, and when he is stretching the limbs or bringing the limbs. So I'm not being modern monk. Yes, maybe I put the images. That's the only credit that you can put. But the Buddha spoke about this. Even the Buddha went as far as to say, while urinating, you remember, and defecating, the monk or the practitioner is mindful, because we cannot underestimate any place or any moment, because at any time, wisdom can come up. So we are ready. We have the door of wisdom open 24/7. Any moment we are clearly minded, and the Buddha gave these instructions, even when we are in the toilet. And some of the insights we get come precisely there. What is the reaction of the mind towards the smell or something? Yeah, the mind is doing. We learned a lot, actually. So don't underestimate any time or place. And as I said, to wrap up the thing, yes, just put the tag. I will not shower, I will not eat, I will meditate while showering, I will meditate while eating, while doing anything, while walking, and I will add the next tip. Very useful. You will do everything that you will do, but you will just add a little word. You will just add with gentleness. If you eat gently, your mind will stay present. Imagine the first time you hold a newborn baby. How did you hold the newborn baby? How was it? When my sister borrowed to me her daughter, my niece, now she's big, but when she borrowed me the daughter, she born the previous day, and she, I'm like this and I hold it with such a care, such a, no, how do you say in Chinese? Xiu Sam La, Xiu Sam, no? Xiu Sam, Xiao Xin, small heart. Imagine, small heart. You are really mindful. Xiu Sam, Xiu Sam, Xiu Sam. Oh, oh, oh. So you are like this. Can you be careless at that moment? Of course not. So mindfulness is present. Can you be kind? Of course, kind, gentleness. Can you be wholesome? Of course, but you are very, wow. So imagine, in the same way, gentleness lives on the same neighborhood of kindness, in the same neighborhood of goodness, in the same neighborhood of all the good qualities are in the same neighborhood. You saw the spectrum of mind? We are on this side. So if you just do things kindly, brush your teeth kindly, shower kindly, it is that kindness and gentleness will already bring all the good qualities of the mind present. Does it make sense? Can you be aggressive while you are gentle? It's impossible. They're opposite. So, my dear family, do all these things, another one, and actually it's very pleasant and very beautiful. Just do things gently. Dress yourself gently. Talk gently. Talk to yourself gently. Very elegant. Very nice. Now we are talking. Now we are talking about daily life elegance. Do we need a monastery to do this? Not at all. Do we need, I don't know, an altar? No. It's just daily life. We are making our life our retreat. Okay, if you haven't read this book, get it online for free distribution from Sayadaw Tejaniya. In this line for practicing in daily living, it has a lot of tips and it has very small instructions that you can read one a day. And please get it. Just look Sayadaw Tejaniya book and it will come up. Or you can get even copies here. I've seen I think I saw somewhere they have copies of it. Get one, and I will encourage you to have it. Okay. Very simple and even very funny. As you can see, it has drawings and very practical. So keep that in mind. Next one. Okay, but before we go to that one little break. Let's come back to the body. Everybody doing good? Are you okay? Interesting? Continue? Good. So let's come back to the body just for a few minutes. Close your eyes just for a few seconds and rejoice in being alive. That's it. We are alive and healthy. We came walking by ourselves. We have family, friends, food, clothing, more than enough. Just come back. And be gentle with this present moment. That's it. We wish the same for our family, our mother and father, wherever they may be, even if they left already. For our brothers and sisters, children, may you be like I am now. Just present, just gentle. That's it. To your friends, teachers, people we know and people we don't know. We wish the best, and then we come back. Simple, beautiful mind, holding, chilling. Very nice, very beautiful, so simple, coming back and changing the mind to a different state. Okay, shall we continue a little bit more? Okay, so now here comes a difficult one, and one that we need to start incorporating, talking. How much do you talk a day? Wow, we talk a lot, isn't it? Or even in your job, if you are a phone, yes, how can I help you? Yes. So imagine the whole day talking. If we are unskillful on keeping our mind stable while we are talking, you can make the math. How many hours a day do I speak? How many hours we are unmindful? We won't make it, ne? If we don't bring mindfulness while we are talking, we will waste a lot of time. And I can assure you that most of the things that we feel regret now were words that we said, isn't it? Why? Because we were unmindful. We didn't recognize that the defilements were coming and suddenly, blah, we said something, blah. Very cheap, very cheap. So, how to bring mindfulness while we talk? The Buddha said we need to be mindful while speaking and while being silent. So in the same way that we practice meditation, we need a base, an object, a base object, an anchor. So what will be that anchor? Same as in the car. If you're talking with somebody and you're standing, I'm feeling the weight of the body in the feet. I am feeling the breath. I'm feeling the sensation of the cloth. Can you feel the cloth touching your body? Yes. Can you feel the coolness of the aircon? Yes. Can you feel the weight of your body in the cushion? Or if you are standing, that's it. I anchor myself. First, with any object, same as we will practice any meditation.
This is the first time I came here, but I have been speaking earlier at the other place, and so I'm very happy to see the new place. Looks good. And today the topic that we are going to speak about is a part of philosophy. When we talk about philosophy, there are different topics under which we talk about philosophy, especially when we study Western philosophy. And the topic that we are talking about is what is called epistemology. There are various other topics like ethics and metaphysics and various names like that. But the kind of thing we are going to talk about today is epistemology. Epistemology is the subject that deals with the question, what is truth? So, different philosophers in the West have been talking about truth. What is truth? And here, the Buddha, in that particular sutra called the Kalama Sutra, is talking about this same thing. What is truth? Because at that time, some people called the Kalamas. That word Kalama refers to a group of people. And these people came and asked a question. There are many speakers who come to our city or town or village or whatever it is, and talk about their beliefs, what they consider to be truth. And in talking about truth, they always point out that what they say is the truth. And everything that other people say is not truth. So their own version of truth they speak about and condemn the version of other people's truth. So these people asked the Buddha, how do we face this problem? Because different people come and talk about different things and claim that to be the truth. Whom are we going to believe? Whom are we going to accept? So please tell us what to do. That is what people asked. So the Buddha says, it is good to doubt. You don't believe any of these things and you are doubting them. To doubt is to ask the question, is it true or is it false? That is the meaning of doubt. And he says, it is correct to doubt about doubtful matters. That's a natural thing to doubt. I don't ask you to believe any of those things. Now today, if we examine the modern philosophy, especially the philosophy that is presented in the West, they point out that philosophy begins with doubt. So it's very important to understand that. Because from ancient times, people really begin to live in groups. All animals begin to live in groups. If you see birds, they are in a group. If you see monkeys, they will also be living with other monkeys. Even cattle, they begin to live with other cattle. So you see this tendency to live in groups is there even for the human beings. Why do people live in groups? Why do animals live in groups? Because every animal feels insecure. Every animal feels insecure. To be alone means that some other animal might come and eat this animal. So one animal becomes the food of the other animals. That is the world. So when they are in groups, at least they can run to the group and get help from the others. So when they are in a group, it is difficult to catch one animal, but then somehow they do catch one of these animals, like a lion or a tiger might come and jump into a group and get hold of one animal, and that becomes the food. It's not only lions and tigers, but even other animals who are called carnivorous animals, they are all living by eating other animals. You see, even human beings are like that. Human beings also eat other animals. It's not only animals who do that. So this is the insecurity of life. We don't know when we'll be caught. Now, human beings don't eat other human beings, but in ancient times even that kind of thing had happened. Now they don't eat other human beings, but they do a different thing. That is what is called exploitation. One human being exploits other human beings. And there are different ways of exploiting even human beings. Even when you go to do a job, it's very important to see that you are being exploited. Other people may be paying you for doing the job. But that payment itself is a way of getting a job done by another person. We use it by what is called exchange. You do a job for me and I give you something for that. That's an exchange. But even in that exchange, I will be exchanging in such a way that I gain from that, and you may be losing to some extent. You see, this is why some people have different salaries depending on what you do and how you do things. But still we have what are called companies. A company is also a gathering where people get together. So what all this means is, there is a certain insecurity in life. This insecurity is the biggest problem. Every person who is born insecure. Now, when a small child is born, what is the first thing that the child does? The first thing, most of you who are mothers or fathers know what the small infant does. The moment that infant is born, the first thing that they do is to cry. Why is that? Crying is expressing the insecurity. We start with that. Because inside the mother's womb, that infant was quite comfortable the moment that infant comes out. It is very cold outside because inside was warm. It's not only cold, people begin to touch this child. And touching is also an uncomfortable thing. And then when you open your eyes, light comes up. This was not there inside the mother's womb. And that is also a very uncomfortable thing. And the most important thing, inside the mother's womb, this infant didn't breathe. Now you have to start breathing. That is also a difficult thing. So, a lot of difficulty the moment you are born. The insecurity. But after some time, that child begins to get used to this, and sometimes you see the child smiling. But you see, somehow, as the child grows up, out of all the other animals, this human child or the infant remains helpless for a long period. Helpless, insecure. And whenever there is any problem, what does that child do? Cry, nothing else. And when the child begins to cry, the mother or the father or any older person might come and help the child. So that is how the child becomes secure. But depending on others, the older people, and if the mother or father didn't look after that infant, the infant would die. Now this child gradually begins to grow up, and gradually this helplessness becomes a little less. But still, when it comes to, say, the age of 16, 17, 18, what happens? When the child has grown up, whenever some difficulty comes up, what does the child do? Can the child now cry and get help from the parents? Now this adult begins to realize that the father and mother are as helpless as himself or herself. Now where can they run? Whenever there is a problem, where can they run? There is no place to run. Because these people have been living in a group, that group Every group has provided a method of helping an individual. What is that? That is what is called religion. That religion has provided a powerful person. Who is that powerful person? Some might call it God, others might call it Allah, or another person might call Devas. Whatever the name is, they are meaning the same thing. It is some kind of supernatural being with supernatural powers. Where the natural power has disappeared, now they are going after supernatural powers. They have never seen this God, but they believe that there is a God like that. Just pray to this God and the God will help you. Even if a person asks, have you seen this God? I have not seen, but God is there. That belief itself is providing the feeling of security. This is why even with all the advancement of modern science, people have not given up the idea of believing in supernatural beings, either in the form of gods or in the form of devils. That belief is necessary just to get that feeling of security. That is why they don't want to give up that. You see, this is why some psychologists like Sigmund Freud pointed out that religion is a collective neurosis. It is a kind of mental sickness which is shared by that whole culture. That is why it is a collective neurosis. Karl Marx called it the opium of the masses, because opium is also something that people take, like alcohol, to forget about the problem completely. This is what is called an escape. Running away from the problem into a dream world. This is why Prince Siddhartha he saw an old man, he saw a sick person, then he saw a dead corpse. That is how he saw the realities of life. The reality of life is that people have to face this reality. that every person who is born begins to grow old, fall sick and die. This is the reality of life. And because we are not willing to accept that reality, we begin to cry and lament about this. Now the important thing is, we ask the question, is this true or is it false? And so this is why people try to find out the meaning of life. He was reading a book by also supposed to be a psychologist. He's writing about the meaning of life. So, but every meaning is some kind of way of thinking. So the question arises, what is the truth? And so, today we are mainly talking about truth. And to understand the truth, the first thing that happened in the history of philosophy is to make use of the human ability to think. Thinking and using our ability, which is called reasoning. What is it that we call reasoning? We are asking the question, what is the reason for this? That is what is called reasoning. What do you mean by reason? Reason means we are asking for the cause. So people begin to ask, if there is a belief that there is a God to protect us, we can ask, what is the reason for this? What is the reason for believing in God? So this questioning is called reasoning. So the first way to solve this problem, people began to use reason. And so that is what philosophers call rationalism. Rationalism means the use of reason. But the problem is, it is okay to use reason, but using reasoning, different people come to different opinions. The same kind of reasoning you use and you come to a different conclusion. So different people come with different conclusions using reason. So they couldn't come to an agreement. So what happened? These people who began to think began to realize that we cannot arrive at truth by reasoning. So one philosopher said, we cannot arrive at truth by reasoning. The only thing that we can call truth is what we can see with our eyes, or hear with our ears, or smell with our nose, or taste with our tongue, or touch with our body. So we have 5 senses: the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the body. So whatever we perceive through the senses, only that is what we can call truth. This is how this thing called science began. Science is based on this. Just by using reasoning, if you come to a point, the scientist doesn't accept it. It has to be verified through experimental observation. So experimental observation is using the eyes or ears or nose or tongue and the body to touch. Unfortunately, one scientist comes up with something like Isaac Newton. He saw that when you throw a ball up, it comes down. Why does it come down? He thought it was due to a force called gravity. There was a force called gravity that attracts things. That's why you can't throw it up and it won't go up. So they thought the best thing is to understand that there is a force called gravity. Now that remained accepted by the other scientists for some time, and then came another scientist that we have heard of, called Einstein. He pointed out there is no such thing as gravity. And he brought forward the theory called the theory of relativity. There is no gravity. So that means even through experimental observation, you cannot arrive at the truth. So then people thought, in that case, what we experience through the senses is not the truth. The real truth is outside sensory experience. There must be something outside. So this philosopher called Immanuel Kant, he is the man who said, there is no what we perceive through the senses is not the truth. The real truth is outside the sensory observation. We are not able to see the truth or hear the truth or smell the truth or taste the truth, but it is there outside. Because there must be something there for us to see. So he spoke of two things, what he called the phenomenon and the noumenon. What is outside that cannot be seen is the noumenon. What we see is the phenomenon. So people began to say the real truth is outside. And that truth was called the transcendental truth. The truth which is beyond experience. The transcendental truth. So there were other philosophers who thought about this, like you may have heard of Bertrand Russell. This person said, we cannot accept that. Why? Because if you talk about a transcendental truth, you may have not seen that, but still that is an idea in the mind. It is still inside you. What is outside the experience you cannot know. So if you talk about something outside the experience, still it is an idea in your mind. So we cannot get out of this. So whatever we talk about is within our experience. It is not outside. So he began to say that whatever we call truth is an idea. And not only that, it is expressed in a language. And if it is expressed in a language, it is a statement. And a statement comes in the form of a sentence. So, we can only talk about sentences, and we can analyze sentences to find out whether the sentence is a meaningful sentence or a meaningless sentence. If we talk about something that we have never seen or heard or smelt or tasted or touched, it is a meaningless statement. If we talk about something that we have seen or heard, then it is a meaningful statement. So we cannot talk about truth and falsehood. We can only talk about meaningful statements and meaningless statements. These are called the linguistic philosophers because they are talking about language. Another school of thought came up and said, all these philosophers are talking nonsense, because they are trying to go after truth. There is no such thing as truth. And the purpose of human thinking is not to discover truth. The purpose of human thinking is to solve problems. So if a person can provide a solution to a problem, it can be verified. And if we can solve the problem using that method, then it can be accepted as a true solution. And that solution can be called a truth. Because it solves the problem. So it can be tested to find out whether it solves the problem. Now, if it solves the problem, it can be called truth. But the solution of the problem is also something that is good. Therefore, truth and goodness is the same thing. Truth is the same thing as good. So you see, so the philosophers came to that point. Then another school of philosophy came up and said, these philosophers are just trying to solve useless problems. There is only one basic problem that needs solution, which is the main problem in life. And that problem is that every human being is aware of one basic thing, that human being exists. Everyone thinks, I exist. That existence is the basic human experience. But at the same time, every human being is aware that he is going to die. Every human being that is born will die. And death is not only for old people, even young children die. So death is the sure thing. And that death, no one likes to die. When a child is born, people are happy. But when a person dies, they begin to cry and lament. You see, that birth and death are the two ends of the same stick, which we call life. Life begins with birth and ends with death. And in between, what you get is what is called aging. From the time you are born, you are approaching death. And that is the aging process. This creates fears, worries, anxieties. That is the problem of life. And this is the only problem, the basic problem that needs to be solved. These people, these philosophers who brought up this problem, they were called existential philosophers because their basic thing is the idea of existence. And with the idea of existence comes death and the worries and anxieties, fears that come up with that. And one existentialist was that man called Kierkegaard. He was a Christian. And he came to the conclusion that the human mind is not able to solve this problem. So the only solution is to take the leap of faith and pray to God to solve the problem. That was his solution. But there were other existentialists who didn't believe that. They said, we can't accept the idea of God. So the only thing is the human being has to solve this problem. But no one was able to solve this problem. But it was the Buddha who really solved this problem. How did he solve the problem? Did he find the way of not dying? Because death is the problem. Did the Buddha die? Or did he not die? It is very important to understand that. No, I put it in very short. What the Buddha pointed out was the mistake is done by the existential philosophers. What is the mistake? Because these philosophers think that they are existing. And the fact is that we are not existing. It is only when we have understood that we are not existing that the problem is solved. Existence itself is a delusion. It is only a dream. We are only dreaming that we exist. we have to awaken from this dream. It is only when we have awakened from this dream that we are existing. That we solve the problem of existence. Now, of course, to go into this further, we have to go into a long discussion. But we get back to the Kalama Sutra, because in the Kalama Sutra, the Buddha is talking about this problem that modern philosophy has introduced. Because these people came and asked the Buddha, what is the truth? How do we get at the truth? Are we to believe what these people say? So the Buddha started by saying, it is correct to doubt. Because these people pointed out the philosophers were saying that philosophy begins with doubt. Here the Buddha says, it is correct to doubt. And then he says, don't go by your traditional beliefs. Don't accept what other people tell you. Don't go by what is in the religious books. Don't accept. Don't accept even if it is based on logic and reasoning. Even rationalism is thrown out. Then he points out, don't believe it because the philosophers who thought that what is perceived through the senses is the truth, that kind of philosophy was called empiricism. So here the Buddha points out, don't accept, even because you have seen or heard or smelt or tasted or touched. That is given up empiricism. And then he says, don't accept it because there are some people who say, I can see through my extrasensory perception. Going beyond the senses, I can see through some special psychic powers, I can see the truth. The Buddha says, don't accept that. Because even that is what is called transcendental truth or transcendentalism. That is also rejected by the Buddha. Then he says, even if you have faith in your teacher, don't accept it just because your teacher said so. So in other words, he is rejecting all these truths And then, of course, he says, when you know for yourself that a certain thing is good, or certain thing is the wise thing to do, or when a certain thing is done, it has happiness coming from that, then go by that. But here, there is something very important here. When the Buddha said that, there was this psychologist called Sigmund Freud. He pointed out that there are three parts of the mind. What he called the id, the ego, and the superego. The id is going after pleasure. That is a part of the mind that is always seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. Seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. That is what he called the id. There is another part of the mind that is guided by logical thinking, reasoning. That is what he called the ego. Ego is thinking in terms of logic and reasoning. And there is another part of the mind that is always trying to be good and trying to avoid bad. That is what he called the superego. You see, now here, when the Buddha says, when you know that a certain thing is good, so that means there the Buddha is talking about using the superego, because the superego is always trying to find out whether it's good or bad. When you know that when a certain thing is the wise thing to do, that is what the ego is looking for. The ego is always thinking that this is the wise thing to do. This is using logic and reasoning. And then there is this other part that is trying to find out whether it is bringing pleasure or bringing pain. That is what is called the id. So here the Buddha is using these three parts really. Here the Buddha, now the question arises whether the Buddha ever speak about the id, ego and superego. the Buddha has been speaking about this, but he never used those words, id, ego and superego, but he used other words. There is a word called upadana that the Buddha used. Upadana. And he spoke of 4 upadanas. That 4 upadanas is Kama upadana, Ditti upadana, Silabbata upadana, and Attavada upadana. 4 upadanas. The Kama upadana that he spoke of is really, now I have to, of course, go into this meaning of the words that I used. Upadana really means upa-adana. Upa means inside. Apa means outside. So upa-adana means to take. Now we have the word adinadana. Adinadana means to take what is not given. Adinna means what is not given. Adana means to take. To take what is not given. That is what is called either robbing or stealing. You see, upa-adana. So you are taking in, that is the meaning of upa-adana. Upa means inside, adana means to take. Taking what is inside or taking in. The real meaning of taking in is to make something mine. This is mine. Now if I take this cup and say this is mine, that is upadana. Now in this upadana, we are taking in things which is, I use the word personalize. You know what personalize means. Now if you go out to buy a pen, that person who sells you the pen might say, do you like your pen personalized? What does that mean? That they will engrave your name on the pen. So personalized means ownership, that you own the pen. If your name is personalized, that means you have owned the pen. That ownership is personalized. That is to own something. So upadana really means, some people translate like clinging or grasping, but it is not just clinging or grasping, it is more than that, is to say, this is mine. You see, and there are 4 things that we personalize. One is, if I have a desire for something, that desire is personalized. This desire is mine. Or if I hate something, this hatred is mine. So we personalize our desires or hatreds. That is personalizing our emotions, really. And then Ditti upadana means to personalize our ideas, our views. We personalize our views. Then we also personalize our sense of right and wrong, good and bad. That is personalizing the Kamopadana, Dittupadana, Silabbata Upadana. Silabbata. Sila means to avoid doing bad is what is called Sila. Now, in the 5 precepts, if you observe the 5 precepts properly, that is called Sila. That is, you are avoiding bad behavior. So, Sila is to avoid the bad things. And Bata is to be doing the good things. So, you do 2 things. One is you avoid the bad things and you begin to do the good things. And before you do that, you have in your mind the idea of what is good and what is bad. That is the Silabbata Upadana. So, in other words, those 3 things, the personalizing the emotions or the desires and the hatreds, that is what Freud called the what are those words that I used? The the 3 words are the
Ego and superego.
Here?
The ego and the superego.
Yeah. Ego and superego. That's right. The id is the Kama Upadana. Kama Upadana is the id. And yeah, the id. The ego is the Ditti Upadana. And the superego is the Silabbata Upadana. So this is very important to understand. But there was a 4th one that the Buddha spoke of, and that is what is called Attavada Upadana. That is the personality perspective. That means we are thinking of a self. Now, this is going too much into Freudian psychology, but is good to know it. The important thing is that what Freud thought was these 3 things are going against one another. So, when the mind is properly normal, these don't come in conflict. So he thought these are three parts of the mind, which is the three parts of the self. And they are all three parts of the self, and the three parts must be united instead of one going against the other. But what the Buddha pointed out was, these three parts are not parts of the self, because there is no such thing as self. So you have to give up these three things. It is only by giving up these three things that the conflict is resolved. So this is why, although the question was about what is truth, but here the Buddha pointed out that this is not even a philosophical problem, this is really a psychological problem. So from philosophy, the Buddha brought the people into psychology, and also connected with ethics, the idea of good and bad. So this is, of course, a long thing to explain this properly. I only explained it in a very short way. So the important thing is that ultimately the real teaching of the Buddha is that he is not talking about a truth. There is no truth in the world. There are only views in the world. Now there is another sutra which is similar to this Kalama Sutra. This is in this sutra, again another group of people asked the same question from the Buddha. But there the Buddha answers in a different way. He says, Ekang hi satchang na dutiya matti yasming phajano vivade phajanam. Now, here what the Buddha is trying to say is, if there is only one truth in the world, and there is no second truth, there will be no conflict between people if there is only one truth. But different people think in different ways, and they bring out different ideas as truth. This is why there is so much conflict in the world. Then he says, Naheva satchani bahuni nana anyatra sanyani nichani loke takkancha ditti supakappetva satchang musati dvaya dhamma mahu. What this means is, there are no many truths in the world. There is only what is called sanya. Sanya means what you perceive through the senses. That is all that you have. But people begin to use these perceptions and build views using logic And by doing so, they talk about two things called truth and falsehood. And there is no such thing as the truth and falsehood. We can only talk about what we perceive through the senses. That's what he's saying. So the only thing is, instead of talking about truth and falsehood, we can only talk about problems and solutions. That is what. And that problem is what the Buddha called dukkha. And the solution to this problem is what he called, what is today called the Noble Eightfold Path. So he gives a solution to the problem. And that solution is what I call a paradigm shift. This is a very interesting word, paradigm shift. That means a paradigm is how we see the world, how we think of the world and how we think of ourselves. And that way of thinking is producing this problem. And so the Buddha's method of solving the problem is to start thinking in a different way. So these two ways of thinking is, one way is what is called existential thinking. These existential philosophers were thinking of a thing called existence. What we really have is what is called experience. Now, experience means when we see something, seeing is an experience. Hearing is an experience. Smelling is an experience. Tasting is an experience. Touching is an experience. When we experience, there are two parts we create. The two parts are called the subjective and the objective. You see, when I see this cup, the cup is an object that I see. But there is also what is called seeing. So there are two parts, the seeing and what is seen. The seeing is a subjective experience. What is seen is an object. It's an objective experience. The subjective experience I personalize and say, this is mine. The seeing is mine. The object is something outside. So that is called alienation. The subjective experience is personalized and the objective experience is alienated. So when these things are, one is personalized, the other is alienated, I am also creating these two as existing. The cup that I see is existing. And what is mine becomes myself. So I am existing and the cup exists. And when I exist and the cup exists, I am creating a relationship between myself and the cup. The relationship can come in the form of a desire, or it can come in the form of a hatred, or it can come in the form of a fear, or it can come in the form of a worry. That relationship is the suffering. So, the moment the existence comes into being, the relationship occurs and the suffering comes into being. Now, if I look at it in a different way and see it simply as an experience only, seeing is an experience. I don't have to personalize the subjective or alienate the objective. If I look at it only as seeing as an experience, there is no personality here. There is no existence here. And to change from existence to experience is to think in a different way. That is the paradigm shift. And it is by doing that paradigm shift that the problem is solved. Of course, this is not an easy thing to understand fully. But this is the awakening from the dream of existence. That awakening from the dream of existence is what the Buddha achieved. That is why he is called a Buddha. The word Buddha means one who is awakened. Normally people are sleeping. They are sleeping and dreaming that they are existing. So it is only when we have awakened from that dream and we realize that there is no existence, that existence is called bhava, and the freedom from existence is bhava nirodha. So this is why the Buddha says bhava nirodho nibbana. So what is called nibbana is the freedom from existence. When we have become free of existence, all suffering comes to an end. So this is not an easy job to understand that fully. So at least we have understood it to some extent. That is what ultimately the Kalama Sutra is trying to point out.
Well, that's all for this weekend. Until next Saturday. Be good. Have a wonderful night. Namo Buddhaya.